Noi abbiamo qui uno dei rappresentanti dei giovani imprenditori, Matteo Meroni. Dov'è? Chi ha qualche domanda da porre a Bill Gates? I giovani imprenditori, the young entrepreneurs, are the fresh blood in our organization.
Well, it's my birthday today, so I'm very happy to have the possibility of talk to our best entrepreneurs. We have a website where we are online now, so 9,000 young entrepreneurs of Confindustria are following us on the web. And on this website we have the forum, and we have selected 2 questions for you, and arrived 300 questions. So, well, the first question is, it is clear that offering a phone and a computer screen will not in itself help bridge the digital divide opening up across the world. The technology is practically worthless unless people are equipped with the know-how and the willingness to use it. There is a risk that who cannot use it confidently will become increasingly marginalized. At the annual summit in Genoa next July, the G8 leaders will discuss about what is being done and what needs to be done to ensure that the benefits of the Internet extend even to the poorest countries. What could be the role of the developed countries to avoid the increase of the already existing digital divide? Thank you.
Well, the digital divide is an issue that exists in many different levels. Within a country, you can say, are the different schools getting the same resources? In the United States, the really good private schools now have what we call the laptop program, where every student has a laptop computer. And in that school, there's a wireless network. And so when they're assigning homework, they just send it over the network. The kids can be on the internet. They go home and use the internet. It's very different when you own the computer and it's yours, and it's available as a tool all the time, versus having a set of computers where you kind of stand in line to share the use of that computer. Now, sharing is much better than not having access at all, but I'm just saying there's an extreme level of an access that the really great schools around the world are now doing this laptop thing, and that's quite a bit better than the average school, even in the rich world. And in the rich world, there's still some schools that don't have computers hardly at all. If they have them, they're kind of old, and the teachers aren't trained enough to feel like they really want to bring the computer into the classroom, and the textbooks haven't been changed for this new world. So, each country has to make sure that within the country that there's not a digital divide. And so the digital divide can be old versus young. Are you doing programs to encourage older people to get involved? Because to the degree they have extra time, once they get confident, they can be among the best users and staying in touch with their grandchildren and things, and show a lot of creativity. There can be the urban versus rural digital divide, where because getting the high-speed connections is easier in the cities, a lot of these things will happen in the cities before they happen in the rest of the country. And that's always a tough question. Do you subsidize those things, and how does that work? If we step back and look at this globally and say, given that the Cold War has ended, that the rich countries are basically all doing very well, what should the priorities be for helping out the rest of the world? The rest of the world being the place where most of the people live, because the rich world is still the exception rather than the rule. Definitely there are things that can be done with the internet and the digital divide. Because personal computers are so competitive, because of a framework that Microsoft created where all these machines are compatible, computing is now something that you can say every hospital, even in the poorest country, can have patient records and can have the latest information. And so the institutions in poor countries should be given the technology and the training and the connections. From my point of view, the idea of a computer for each person does not make the top priority for what rich countries should do for poor people. Yes, every country's universities should have heavy internet use, but before we deal with the PCs, we also have to look at the much more basic needs like health needs as well. And although the technology has a role to play there, if you really look at the amount of money that rich countries are providing for basic health, that's a very disappointing story, and it's got to be there. The OECD established aggressive goals and said that they would put lots of money into it, but yet now they have not followed up with the very ambitious goals that they set there.
Ministro Letta.
Erano due domande. The second question is, undoubtedly, the main users of Internet until now have been young people, and especially in the United States, a lot of .com companies have been created by young entrepreneurs. Is the market changing? Young entrepreneurs will continue to play an important role in the new economy? Thank you.
Well, every time there's a big change, and the internet and the incredible software and PCs around the internet are bringing more change faster than we've ever seen in history, it's definitely the young people who are the most aggressive at driving these changes. But it's not just young people at startup companies. It's also young people going to the established companies and being a little bit of a troublemaker to say, hey, why can't this established company take its skills and use those over the internet? A year ago, the startups were viewed as having all the wisdom, and the way that they were being valued, it was as if only the startup companies could figure out the internet, and yet those companies were being very naive about profitability. In fact, what we need is the best of both. We need the thinking of the internet with the easy access, but we also need the traditional business skills. So if you take something like banking, yes, you want the expertise in evaluating credit risk and the trusted brand name of the existing bank, but you want that to be easy to access through the internet for many of your interactions. And so you're not using up their resources for simple things like checking your balance, but they can save their human resources for the complex issues. And so every bank needs to have lots of these young people coming in and saying, come on, let's change this, let's do this. Or, a retailing company or a manufacturer. And so the role of the young people and the opportunities they have if they embrace this change and spread the word about it, the opportunities they have are as great as ever before. Maybe not as many will make $1 million in a month on stock options. That was not sustainable. But in terms of a real career, if they're involved in this, they can do incredibly well. I don't want to say it's just the young people, because I've seen some older managers who are quite amazing in terms of their personal use and getting the message out there. But 80 or 90% of the real push is going to come from the younger generation.
Yes.